When I first started this, I started with the firm assumption that Hitler died in the bunker. But that is getting chipped away at over and over and over again.
He saw Hitler here in the monastery.
Hitler was here.
In the first season of Hunting Hitler, Bob Baer launched a global investigation based on leads from over 700 pages of recently declassified FBI files that suggest Adolf Hitler may have escaped.
This is report after report after report.
Holy crap, that's a swastika. The body that was wrapped up in that blanket was not him.
That's a problem.
In this special episode, Bob Baer and his team give an exclusive look inside the investigation with never-before-seen footage and behind-the-scenes interviews.
I never, ever thought we would find this much evidence.
Hitler had a whole city to himself down here, and nobody knew about it.
Hitler could have gotten away. If I were reading that on a page of a book, I would dismiss the book.
Not much air in here, guys.
But once we had these guys in the field, retracing the FBI documents, we're getting into solid ground.
Is that a swastika?
But season 1, that was just the beginning. This should have been settled history. But you get into these FBI files, and you'll see right away they had an active investigation looking for this guy. This case is a mess. This sort of thing is what I did in my career, hunted people. I joined the CIA at 21, stayed in 21 years. I hunted Osama bin Laden types, and I tracked Saddam for many years. I learned unique skills available to few people. I know how to get to the truth and simply look at the facts. For me, I don't believe in any conspiracies. I'm not in any way a truther. But there's the big difference between a conspiracy and a cover-up. Those FBI documents on Hitler were kept secret, classified for years for no good reason. Director FBI J. Edgar Hoover, the American Army officials in Germany have not located Hitler's body, nor is there any reliable source who will say definitely that Hitler is dead. For Hoover, the FBI director, to get engaged in the hunt for Hitler is huge. There was a very good reason for him to be interested in Hitler's whereabouts. Because when we looked for the evidence that Hitler died in the bunker, it didn't exist. Normally in situations like this, you have a body. You can do DNA testing, you can identify, and the story's over. We had none of that for Hitler.
On April 30th, 1945, with Soviet troops closing in on Berlin, Hitler and his wife Eva Braun were reported to have committed suicide in his bunker. On May 2nd, Soviet troops stormed Hitler's bunker, contaminated the crime scene, and eventually shipped Hitler's supposed remains back to Moscow.
The Russians were into full looting mode. They botched investigating the crime scene.
Kemke could not tell whether he really had seen that Hitler was dead because he had not seen the body. Nobody sees his face and said that's him, unless it wasn't Hitler.
I mean, no witnesses, no real autopsy, no nothing. One piece of forensic evidence we had didn't match Hitler.
We did have an opportunity to examine the cranial vault fragment.
American scientist Nick Bellantoni gained access to the remains that the Soviets claimed were Hitler's. A DNA analysis determined the remains belonged to a woman.
We had no choice but to look at this thing and really get to the bottom of it. When we opened those FBI files, the leads led all over the world. Once I started this investigation, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And that's why we have multiple teams out there, all trying to piece this together.
Bob joined forces with premier war crimes investigator, Dr. John Sensich.
I'm a professional criminal investigator. I don't get excited easily. But when we started looking, I saw that there really were ambiguities about Hitler's death. That piqued my interest.
Bob and John assembled teams of some of the most respected experts in the world. Nazi hunters, forensic scientists, manhunters, like Tim Kennedy and Lenny DePaul, and investigative journalists like Gerard Williams.
We are taking up the search where the FBI left off. What we found, it's amazing. Time and time again, we looked into the FBI reporting and corroborated it with physical evidence. When you have a file that says that Hitler is hiding in an underground compound in remote Argentina, and you go there,
check this place out,
find these facilities and compounds and bunkers and the rest of it.
This is actually well designed for ventilation.
I say, what's going on here? I start to believe this stuff.
By corroborating leads in the FBI documents, Bob and the team established Hitler could have made it out of the bunker, escaped through Spain and the Canary Islands, and found refuge among a network of Nazi supporters in South America.
No one's ever put this together. It's a plausible escape route for Adolf Hitler.
I think we got it!
Even with everything we found in season 1, that was just scratching the surface. This investigation is still going on.
In season 2 of Hunting Hitler,
We got a tunnel.
Bob and his team dig deeper into astonishing new declassified files
Look at this.
That's powerful information.
and hit the ground in new places around the world.
Evidence in the second season is getting better.
Holy
Stalin definitely has to hold secrets.
We need names.
And it's getting bigger and bigger, the possibility that he got away.
This just got real.
In the initial phases of season 1's investigation, Bob and the team looked into what would have been the first step in Hitler's possible escape route.
One of the most difficult questions we had was how Hitler would make it out of the bunker. What I thought was, surrounded by the Red Army and getting bombed, there's no chance. Berlin is a war zone. Artillery, stray bullets, bombers. The Russians were closing in on Berlin. He needs an escape route, and the only way to get out of a besieged town is by air. Lenny DePaul has been tracking fugitives his entire career. I knew Lenny was the guy to look into this.
To me, as a manhunter, cold cases kind of get in our blood. From the beginning of this investigation, I got a gut feeling that something's going on. Throw these words in there: escape, plans, fly, plane.
Historian and investigator Sasha Kyle used his contacts to gain access to a database of interviews from Hitler's inner circle conducted at the Nuremberg trials.
There we go, we got hits here, look at this. He says we left Berlin by air in the early morning of 21 of April. And I myself left from Berlin Stock, others left from Tempelhof. We were about 8 or 10 aircraft.
The first plane was loaded with Hitler's private property.
What? Now I'm thinking, why would he put all of his personal items on board that airplane before the Battle of Berlin? For what reason? Was he going on vacation? I mean, no, they're at war. He had a plan.
Tempelhof Airport wasn't under Allied control until 7 days after the flight mentioned in the testimony.
You know, people still are closed-mouthed about it. They don't want to talk about it. I interviewed a guy behind the scenes, an older guy, probably in his mid-80s, and he had photos with him. And he started to tell me, hey, I was part of the Hitler Youth Army. And he remembers distinctly one night, he was told by his bosses, don't shoot at any aircraft that fly overhead tonight because they're going to be German airplanes. Could Adolf Hitler have taken off out of Tempelhof Airport that night? Absolutely. Nobody was shooting at him. So I knew we had something at that point.
As an investigator, I have to look how Hitler would get to the plane.
This is it?
That's the entrance.
Wow. So this isn't open to the public? Nobody goes down here?
Nobody knows.
Could he have stayed underground from the Führer bunker all the way to Tempelhof Airport and get out of there by aircraft? Oh my God, look at this. Look at that.
The team investigated a massive network of Nazi tunnels constructed during the war and accessible from Hitler's bunker.
Sasha said, oh, there's probably about 90 miles of tunnels under Berlin. And it was a city underneath the city. I got chills at one point. I mean, I'm in these bunkers that have been dug and created with 6 feet of concrete, fortified fortresses, these places. I think our bunker busters today couldn't blow these things up. Hitler had a whole city to himself down here, and nobody knew about it.
In Berlin, Bob Baer and his team of investigators discovered Hitler could have been planning to escape from the bunker to Tempelhof Airport by using a massive network of tunnels under the city.
It's very possible that he could have escaped that bunker. Could have stayed underground, could have jumped on an airplane, flown out of Tempelhof Airport.
The team narrowed down the possible escape routes to a single tunnel. a subway line that would have given Hitler a clear shot from the bunker to the area of Tempelhof Airport.
You see the tunnel?
Yeah. So they would have been underground until they reached Tempelhof Airport.
Completely.
You know, when you get into a cold case or a guy like Adolf Hitler, and you want to certainly walk in his footsteps. You want to stay ahead of the curve. You want to think like he would have thought.
Look over there. This is the shortest way to the first building.
That's quite a distance
Yeah.
between there, about a couple hundred meters?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think Hitler would have traveled the U6 line all the way here, come above ground, and then run 200 to 300 meters?
It's a risk.
He would have had a tunnel built from the airport to the subway system.
There was a rumor for a connection between Tempelhof Airport and the U6 line.
To see if the rumored tunnel actually existed, the team brought in ground-penetrating radar, or GPR.
Technology has been a huge component in this investigation.
Holy crap, that's a big target.
And it provided us an opportunity to be able to peer through a time lens, in a way, into what actually happened in the past. Today's GPR can detect objects such as narcotics, guns, bodies, tunnels, up to 30 feet below the ground.
That is again?
It's exactly the direction to the subway station.
As we connected the dots and put this puzzle together, there was like wow moments.
So from the scans, you have a tunnel.
The GPR revealed the suspected tunnel that would have been the missing link in Hitler's possible underground escape route.
Subway probably runs maybe another 15 feet that way. I'd love to connect the dots underground.
The team headed into the U6 subway to verify the suspected tunnel actually connected.
Oh, stop right there, George. What's that?
That's definitely different.
Yes.
That's a transition of some kind. See
You
if
hear the
it's...
sound?
George,
Yeah,
I think you found something.
that's amazing.
We just now put the last piece of the puzzle together. We connected Tempelhof Airport to the Führer bunker. And to find this tunnel that no one's ever found before, I was just blown away. And Sasha, I wish I had a camera I could have took a picture of what he looked like. He was just so excited, and I was like, hey, Sasha, calm down. I don't think your blood pressure's ever been that high. Boom! I love it!
At this point, we prove it was feasible to get out of Berlin. And what are the next steps to move location? And that's what we had to find. If he did take an airplane out of Berlin, I can tell you one thing, he's not getting to Argentina. I mean, it's out of range, too far. He didn't go to Russia. Red Army was all the way up to Berlin. It's just impossible. In Africa, you got the American Army there.
You get these high-profile cases, Osama bin Laden, El Chapo Guzman. Usually the way they go down is the known associates and the people they're hanging out with. Yeah, let's say Hitler did escape the Führer bunker in April 1945. He's only going to trust a few people.
There's one man that Hitler could go to for salvation. It's Franco.
Francisco Franco was the fascist dictator of Spain. In 1945, he headed one of the only governments still sympathetic to the Nazis. Years earlier, Hitler aided Franco's rise to power in a civil war by sending German troops and bombers.
Spain was the only way out of Europe. We looked into the FBI reporting, the declassified reporting, and we found documents just reconfirm that Spain was a transit point.
States here, the United States Army is spending most of its efforts to locate Hitler in Spain.
With FBI documents suggesting Hitler may have found refuge in Spain, the team hit the ground in search of evidence of escape routes.
Oh, look at this. That certainly has been covered over. We found safe houses, safe havens, perfect place to hide. Every place we went were Nazi fingerprints. No way. Is that a swastika carved on that?
As the investigation progressed, the team discovered a monastery that had been used as a hub for fleeing Nazi war criminals.
So Lenny and I arrive at this amazingly beautiful monastery. It's gorgeous. And yet there's a seriously eerie feeling about this place.
A man who worked here, he said that he saw here with his eyes Hitler.
Hitler was here.
He said so.
Lots of senior Nazis got out through Spain. If they could do it, so could Adolf Hitler.
Most important thing about Spain in season 1 was that Spain had ports that U-boats could have left from.
The team followed the Nazi escape routes to the port of Vigo.
So in 1945, German soldiers were here in U-boats.
No doubt, absolutely. Really? At the end of the war and after.
Talking to people that had lived there and heard their grandparents saying, oh yeah, I remember I'm out fishing one day on my boat and all of a sudden, boom, a submarine pops up right next to me.
Were the Nazi criminals using Vigo to escape from Europe?
Without any kind of doubt.
To me, there's no question. This could have been Hitler's escape route. So in 1945, German soldiers were here in U-boats.
No doubt, absolutely.
Following leads from FBI documents, Bob Baer and his team of investigators determined Adolf Hitler could have made it out of the bunker and found safe passage across Spain.
I think the best thing about Spain is you have a U-boat base there. You can run U-boats under the noses of the Allies.
The FBI reports revealed a multitude of sightings of Hitler in Argentina. Based on that, the team determined that any possible escape route would have led across the ocean.
The most obvious way to get somebody across the Atlantic at a time when the Atlantic is completely in the hands of the British, American, and Canadian navies is to put them on a submarine.
Following Germany's surrender, there were 45 U-boats that were unaccounted for. That adds a degree of plausibility that Hitler could have escaped to Argentina. But there were a few problems with this.
What bothers me is this distance is 6,700 miles down to Argentina, and we know that the U-boats that did make that, people got off very sick.
When you have a fugitive who's trying very hard not to be found, sometimes even the smallest details will pay off. In this case, examining Hitler's health problems led us to some very important findings.
Hitler was suffering from asthma and ulcers.
If you have an older man suffering health problems, you're not going to make one long journey from Spain. I would want to do this in stages. Let's say you split up the trip, how would you do it?
There's really only one location. That's the Canary Islands.
At the end of World War II, the Allies controlled nearly every coastal country along the Atlantic Ocean, leaving the Spanish Canary Islands as the only territory friendly to Hitler.
Could a U-boat have been resupplied in the Canary Islands, and could Hitler have used that location to recoup, to regroup, and then eventually make his way to South America?
After days of investigation in the Canary Islands, the team uncovered a mysterious military compound hidden in a mountainside.
There are 13 kilometers of underground tunnels buried into this. And so we go, okay, can we get in? Which we do, we get in.
These are entrances here?
This was a complete secret history. Look at the size of this blast door.
Yeah, I see.
All these tunnels were hidden, and it's only now that people are actually finding out what their purpose was. There's a huge, massive underground structure designed to house torpedoes.
Look at this, Gerard.
Aha! That's how you carry your torpedoes.
There's the hoist. Gerard turns around and says, wait a minute, Spain didn't even have much of a navy, let alone U-boats or any submarines. What do you need torpedoes for? So it was obvious to us that the Nazis and the Germans built that place. It was operational even after the war. If Hitler himself wanted to stop by and hang out for a few days and then get out of Dodge in a hurry and continue south, would have been a perfect stopover for him.
The next thing we had to find was where a U-boat could have landed in Argentina. The FBI files showed this very interesting lead.
Take a look at this document. This is a report written by the FBI, the source, who claims to have aided 6 top Argentine officials in hiding Adolf Hitler upon his landing by submarine in Argentina.
Hitler had to go to a remote area to land. You simply cannot put a U-boat in a crowded port. We sent Tim Kennedy there because that's part of his training. Special Forces is looking for clandestine landing sites.
I came across a well that was obviously placed specifically there as a resupply point for U-boats.
Hitler or any other Nazi coming into Argentina on a U-boat is going to need supplies, is going to need fresh water.
And so this was important. And the next thing, we uncovered a document from the Argentinian Navy that reported seeing the U-boat.
3 crew members clearly saw a submarine emerge and submerge.
What happened to the sub?
They don't know.
And on top of all that, we uncovered a report through a reliable local source that a woman had seen in the precise location indicated by the Argentinian naval account a submarine surface. She maintained this story until the last days of her life.
Esta es la señora Paisani, y desde la cocina pudo divisar la silueta de un submarino. From her kitchen window, she saw the submarine.
During the war or after the war?
¿Durante la guerra o después de la guerra? Después de la guerra. After the war.
After the war.
Do you think Adolf Hitler was on one of these submarines?
Sí.
Eyewitness testimony is inherently unreliable. What we needed to do, like you do in any criminal investigation, is to take what the woman says that she saw and try to corroborate that.
I'm going to go out into the area where the sub was sighted. We want to see what's credible, see whether or not somebody could have seen a sub from that location.
Steve's on a boat heading out to the area that the U-boat was supposed to be in, and I'm gonna go from her vantage point and see if she's lying. Hola. ¿Tu madre ver un U-boat?
Sí. Okay. This is okay. Aquí es bueno.
Steve Ramban, looking at the map, figuring out geography-wise where the eyewitness was compared to where the bay was, and if she could have actually saw a U-boat surfacing.
If Tim can see us, that would tend to confirm that it was at least feasible.
He didn't think that was going to be possible. He was even making bets with the crew, like, oh, he's not going to be able to see us.
5 by 5, you ready?
All right, let's go.
Then I stand and look out onto the water, and I can see Steve clearly.
Tim, how did that look to you?
I definitely got you guys now. Obviously, Steve had to pay out some bets that night.
At this point in the investigation, question is, what are the next steps to get away? Too much risk.
If we go to some of these other documents, one, an FBI document indicating that once this U-boat arrives in Argentina, there's a trip inland towards the foothills of the southern Andes. The party arrived at the ranch where Hitler and his party are now hiding. Another document I have here is stating that Hitler is living in an immense German estate in Patagonia.
If Adolf Hitler had escaped, he would have been the most wanted man in the world.
Anybody like that couldn't hide in the open for long after May 45. It just wasn't possible. So he needed a safe house.
According to multiple sources, Hitler was moving inland.
Well, it's Patagonia, they're going for the mountains, they're going for a remote area. So what we're looking for is German communities. And if you keep going across South America, you will come to San Carlos de Bariloche. Bariloche is the Berlin of Argentina.
Bariloche is Nazi central even today.
Some of the most evil men on the planet were allowed to live out their lives within this community.
If you're not from here, you just don't come into Bariloche and start asking questions about Nazis.
If you're Hitler on the run, you have to go to a remote area where you have supporters. You want to go to someplace small, someplace you can detect surveillance immediately.
Following leads from declassified FBI files, Bob Baer and his team of investigators traced a possible escape route for Hitler out of Berlin, through Spain and the Canary Islands, to Bariloche, a remote mountain town in Argentina with a large German population.
Post-war, Bariloche becomes Nazi central. The list of war criminals living around Bariloche is pretty extensive. Erich Priebke, who's responsible for the murder of 375 people, eventually in the 90s was extradited, but he'd been living openly in Bariloche for years.
Bariloche is this weird place. You know, it's beautiful. When I was there doing the investigation, I looked at those mountains. It reminded me, of Tahoe, near where I grew up. But underneath that beauty, you start finding darkness. One of the biggest discoveries for me was finding and getting to Analco.
The team discovered a mysterious house they believed matched the massive estate mentioned in the FBI files.
What can you tell me about the house?
Well, the Naka house is it's kind of a mystery. The legends tells about the whole thing with the Hitler's house.
For decades, local rumors have swirled that Hitler himself once took refuge in this remote mansion. The Analco house sits miles from civilization. It would have only been accessible by the lake it's situated on. 450 acres of dense forest on 3 sides and 2 islands just offshore make it completely hidden from public view.
You hear stories of people who say their mothers used to deliver vegetables to the place every couple of weeks. And then they'd say, yeah, to Adolf Hitler's house. The whole area behind the house is known as Adolf Hitler's Valley locally. Lots of things point to this having been the secluded point of refuge that Adolf Hitler had.
We better not go there, you know?
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I think we will go there.
If I'm gonna hide a high-value target, this is perfect. Once we had information that Adolf Hitler had stayed in that house, we put all of our energy and focus into getting onto that property. So how do we get in here? But it's not a friendly environment.
Whatever happened at the Analco house, there are still people who don't want us to find out what the real truth is.
We do have to be aware that if there is a caretaker there, he may well be carrying a weapon of some sort.
Off camera, we're being followed, we're being tracked, we're being recorded, we're being threatened.
Okay. And when will that happen? One of our crew tried to get us permission to go onto the property and was turned away in a pretty aggressive manner and told that if he came back, he'd be shot. There has to be something to hide, doesn't it?
There it is. I saw something. Can you turn around? Right there.
Over there?
Yeah, over here. Slow down a little bit. See it? It's like a little guard shack. If you put a machine gun right there, you can cover this entire body of water. It's dangerous.
De la isla, por favor.
For us, that means that we had to be very precise in how we planned and executed our mission. All right, drone's up.
Behind the scenes, Tim Kennedy launched a reconnaissance drone to try to get eyes on the Analco house from a safe distance.
It is heading to waypoint 8. We tried to fly over it, tried to get as much footage as we can.
What?
Dude, I think this thing just crashed. Oh man, it's not moving at all. Ah! The drone ultimately crashed in a cliff face. That's a rough day. You know, it's like, what else could go wrong? But that forced us to do something, which was get access to Analco a different way.
It's become something of a running joke on the team and between Tim and I, where I refer to him as Captain America, or Cap for short. The thing is, Tim Kennedy does some crazy things.
Go.
I mean, Tim's trained to go and find high-value targets, and he's also trained not just to find them, but also to hide them.
We got eyes on the house.
So Tim went through his own checklist of exactly what would make the Analco house a good place to hide a high-value target, and how difficult it would be to get at that high-value target.
Yeah, I found what I think is a ramp for a seaplane coming right up to the front of this property.
Having gone through his checklist, Tim was pretty convinced that it would be a perfect location to put Adolf Hitler.
It was engineered and designed for the purpose of hiding someone.
Season 1, we uncover things in Bariloche which lead us to believe that Adolf Hitler may well have lived there.
So this is it, Mystery Island.
Season 2, we get a chance to look at this place and work out what its strategic interest and value is.
And this is a huge industrial complex. He has everything that he needs to do anything that he wants.
And it's seriously quite scary.
One of the lessons I learned in this investigation is just how prepared they were for the end of the war. They were not going to accept defeat.
Following leads from declassified FBI files, Bob Baer and his team of investigators uncovered a plausible escape route leading from the bunker in Berlin deep into Argentina.
Big question is, where would he go next and what would he do?
I mean, they didn't flee to Argentina and sit at the pool all day. They were up to something.
The very first time I heard the term the Fourth Reich, I thought it was absurd. But there is historical evidence of a Fourth Reich. We have a declassified document that states here, from now on, German industry must realize that the war cannot be won. German industrialists must, through their exports, prepare themselves to finance the Nazi Party, which would be forced to go underground.
For the Nazis to do this, you can't do it without money.
Follow the money. That is perhaps an investigative cliche of all cliches. But there's truth to it. When we dug deeper, we uncovered the Eichhorns. These were incredibly wealthy people. They lived in Argentina, and much of their wealth was sent to Germany to fund the rise to power of Adolf Hitler. And most importantly, if the Fuhrer should at any time get into difficulties, he could always find a safe retreat at La Falda, where they had already made the necessary preparations.
She was a Nazi.
The Eichhorns ran a hotel called the Hotel Eden in La Falda, Argentina. We needed to take a look.
The team searched Hotel Eden.
This is kind of creepy.
Home base for the powerful Eichhorn family, for any evidence it could have been used to shelter a high-value target like Adolf Hitler.
I understand why Hitler would come here. You know, he needs to reconnect with people that could give him power. But in 1945, he is the most sought-after human on the planet. Every guy, like me, would want to find Adolf Hitler. It's a super vulnerable room. So how could he be here and not be seen? That's what we had to find out. There would have had to been security measures, ways to keep those people safe.
The way that everybody always said they protected people here, it was using tunnels.
Do you know where any of those tunnels could be?
He knows they're around, but it's something that he can say for certain is right here.
Tim Kennedy searched for the presence of tunnels using cutting-edge ground-penetrating radar.
You're just marking anomalies, not really seeing what's going on until you take a step back and you see stuff like this. This is very dense, and this isn't a perfect line. That's not random. That's not an accident. Finding something like that, there's nothing like it.
Something just fell in. Tim?
Yeah?
That's not rock. This is plaster.
Holy.
This is man-made.
We're finding tons of man-made rectangular rock, and they're all stacked right on top of each other like a wall or a side of the cave.
The finding suggests the tunnel was constructed from the larger rectangular stones and sealed with interior plaster. The structure most likely collapsed, causing the stones to disperse and the plaster to deteriorate with time and exposure to the elements.
Hotel Eden has become very much a cornerstone in our investigation. It wasn't just the hotel, it's also there that we have an eyewitness who stated in season 1 that she saw Adolf Hitler. She was the Eichhorn's maid. Can she remember how long Hitler stayed in La Falda?
Como 9 días.
Okay.
The eyewitness also gave the team a vital clue to Hitler's possible activities in the area.
He spent a couple of weeks in a castillo.
In a little castle?
The Mandel Castle?
It's a place you called the castle.
Well, it's quite a property.
Owned by a man called Fritz Mandl. He's one of the world's largest arms dealers.
He used to own an ammunition factory.
So he was making arms while he was here?
Yes.
Is Hitler planning to rearm the Fourth Reich? They're seriously quite scary.
So here we have a 1944 FBI document, and it talks about Fritz Mandl being a former Austrian munitions king who recently converted his bicycle factories into an Argentine plant for manufacturing of munitions.
When I think about Mandel and known arms manufacturer and opening a bicycle factory, my bull light goes up. So there's something wrong here. Something not right with this story.
In season 2, we look at Mandl, but not from his castle in La Falda. We look at Mandl's factories in Buenos Aires.
Analyze an explosive test card.
But what they can do is not just turn out toothpaste tubes.
I have a positive hit.
But turn out munitions.
This paints a picture of a man who's trying to set up an army in Argentina, a Nazi army. And here we have Hitler meeting with him. He was planning something. And I think what we can say here is that Hitler, at this point, has gone operational.
Following leads in the FBI files, Bob Baer and his team of investigators established Hitler could have escaped the bunker and found refuge amongst a network of Nazi supporters in South America, and may have been meeting with a known arms dealer. But after that, the trail went cold.
We have dozens upon dozens of sightings of Hitler throughout 1945. But then everything goes cold. He seems to drop off the face of the earth.
Creating a chronological timeline using those FBI documents, we have a couple of years that are missing.
No reported sightings, no missteps. That can mean a number of things. Is he dead? Or he could be laying low until it's the proper time to make his move.
We had to find out where Hitler was hiding.
The team scoured the files for any clues about Hitler's whereabouts during the 2-year gap.
The Nazis in Misiones are reported to control a system of roadways known only to them.
Probably a dirt road, unpoliced. Hitler out of uniform, his hair changed, wearing glasses, would go unrecognized down a road like this.
The Misiones province, referenced in the FBI report, is part of the infamous tri-border region of South America, still known today as a haven for arms dealers, drug smugglers, and terrorists.
The tri-border region is jungle, rough terrain. It's just known to intelligence services as a black hole. You have the secret roadways in someplace like that. That gets my attention.
The team linked up with world-renowned archaeologist Daniel Chavelzone, who had uncovered the site of what appeared to be a Nazi hideout hidden deep in the jungle.
You look at Misiones, it's built in secret. He's self-sufficient. They had canned food, has running water, electricity. It was constructed by Nazis. That's the swastika.
Here is a pharmaceutical vial.
Something we found at Misiones is stomach medicine, which matches the medicine that Adolf Hitler took.
You know, it becomes surreal. Places that you're going, the buildings that you're walking in, could have protected and hid Adolf Hitler. The compound is possibly where that 2-year time frame that was missing takes place.
That's an eerie-looking building.
Now, in season 2, with the evidence we're finding this time, it's looking more and more like something big went on there.
Oh, hey, look at that. Why is this in the middle of the jungle?
It is not just a house. It's not the house of an eccentric.
You see that? Right there. This is strategic. This is a second wall.
It looks like a military compound.
The person that is using this is protected by the people that are using that. This is where you line up bunk beds and put soldiers.
You have to compare this to 9/11. This is like bin Laden hiding in those compounds in Afghanistan before the attack. You put the wheels in motion for something really big, and then you disappear. Somewhere that's off the grid. Way off the grid. Season 1 was based on hundreds of documents. Now season 2, we're widening the investigation to tens of thousands of documents. CIA files, German intelligence files, Stasi documents. We're gonna stop nowhere. Look at that. 14,621 international files on Hitler alive. We're gonna go to new places.
Look at this.
We've got new experts.
This is starting to look a little bit suspicious.
We're starting to piece together their plans and intentions of creating the Fourth Reich.
What is this place? That's weaponized nuclear power. This is ground zero.
They're making sarin gas.
They think a weapon of mass destruction will change the cards.
Whoa.
You get to win the game.
There's something right here! Look at that. This is death. I mean, this is nasty, nasty, nasty.